Professor in class, this is Giovanni. For today's presentation, I will examine property, sales, and income taxes from the perspective of economic efficiency. I will discuss the possible distortion effects for each of these taxes, and finally, how these taxes are viewed from the perspective of opposing philosophical views of government intervention, those who advocate for more government intervention and those who advocate for less government intervention. Let's start with defining economic efficiency. Most economists use the principle of Pareto efficiency to describe economic efficiency. Our textbook on page 64 states that a situation is considered Pareto efficient when resources are used in such a way that you can't make one person better off without making someone else worse off. This is what taxes do. To pay for certain goods and services, like national defense, for example, the government takes some of the financial resources of an individual via taxes, making that individual have less disposable income, and allocates it to national defense spending, which helps all citizens, including those who pay less taxes. Lastly, regarding economic efficiency, a good tax system should not interfere with the efficient allocation of resources. This is found on page 512. Discretionary effects refers to the unintended changes in people's economic behavior that results from taxes or government policies. Everyone who pays taxes experiences this because taxes reduces disposable income, forcing individuals to either adjust their behavior by spending less, saving less, or borrowing more. Property taxes, which are normally imposed on real property, have many social benefits. One of the major one of the major funding sources of schools comes from property taxes. However, one of the distortionary effects of property taxes is a decrease in property sales, which may cause decrease in future tax revenue. In 2022, for example, Los Angeles voters approved a tax on high value properties. A tax of 4% on property tax sales between 5 to 10 million and 5.5% on property sales for houses over 10 million. The revenue was intended to fund the production of affordable housing, provide rental assistance, and help prevent evictions among low-income residents. However, numerous studies have shown a decrease in property sales of over $5 million, from anywhere between 30 and 50%. The reluctance to sell property is but one example of the distortionary effect on property taxes. On the next slide are a couple of the references that I use to get this information in case anybody wants to use them. When analyzing the distortionary effects of a sales tax, it is important to consider the substitution effect. The substitution effect explains how consumers change their buying behavior when the price of a good increases. In other words, when a product becomes more expensive due to taxation, people may switch to a cheaper alternative that offers similar satisfaction or choose not to buy the product at all. For my PowerPoint, I will focus on the excise tax and the discretionary effect it can create. An excise tax is a tax placed on specific goods or activities, often viewed as harmful, luxurious, or needing regulation. Cigarettes, I believe, are the most common example of an excise tax. Due to the harmful effects of cigarettes, a corrective tax in the form of an excess tax was placed. As of 2025, the federal government has placed $1.01 tax per pack, and California added $2.87 tax per pack. Due to this, two concepts are seen. First, this creates a dead weight loss. Because of this tax, the price of cigarette increases. Some smokers may cut back or quit, and potential new smokers may choose not to start. As a result, fewer cigarettes are sold. Dead weight loss happens when the economy is not working at its full potential, meaning that society is not getting the most benefits it can from buying and selling of goods and services. Normally happens when an outside force interferes with the market, in this case, the cigarette tax. The second concept was seen in the distortionary effect. The excess tax might cause consumers, smokers, to either buy fewer cigarettes, replace them with another product like vape pens, or quit altogether. However, this effect is not isolated to just consumers. Producers might switch their focus from cigarettes to vape pens. Now I am moving on to income taxes, which I am sure we are all aware of. I don't think I need to define them, but just in case. An income tax is a tax that the government imposes on individuals or businesses' earnings, such as wages, salaries, and profits. The amount owed typically increases as income raises, following a progressive tax structure, which our country currently uses. One of the main distortionary effects of income taxes involves people's decisions about how much to work or earn, because the individuals are taxed at different rates depending on their income level. Higher marginal taxes rates can discourage people from working additional hours or seeking higher paying positions. Individuals might decide that the extra effort isn't worth the smaller after tax reward. This can lead to reduced spending and savings, further influencing overall economic activity. But how are these taxes viewed by the people who support different levels of government intervention? Many of those who advocate for more government intervention fall under the Rothwellian social welfare function. Chapter 7 introduces us to this concept, and on page 615 we are reminded. According to the Rawlsian social welfare function, society is concerned about the welfare of the worst off individual, those at the bottom of the economic distribution. From this perspective, government serves as a safeguard for vulnerable population using tax-funded programs to promote fairness and reduce inequality. However, the opposing view is different. Those who advocate for less government intervention state that lower taxes, especially income taxes in the upper end of the income distribution, promotes more labor supply, which may lead to more outputs of products and with that more tax revenue, which will assist government-funded programs for those in needs. In closing, the balance of fairness and equity is a decision that requires much more time than my presentation allows. With that said, I want to wish you all a great week. God bless you, and I can't wait to see your PowerPoint presentations. Goodbye.